Everyone thinks it's a sort of obsession. When I think about knitting, I can either say knitting is something I do, or I can say I'm a knitter. So one thing's about your identity and the other's about what you do. And I guess really I'm a knitter, so it's part of who I am. By the time I was about 10, I could read knitting patterns. So I knitted dolls' clothes, which were really just like knitting adults' clothes. About 6 years ago when I had breast cancer, I knitted just constantly through that. And in fact, I can remember joking with the surgeons that when they had to take the lymph glands from under your arms, do not snip the bit that's to do with knitting, otherwise I'll be really angry, really pissed off. I had to go and have radiotherapy, so every day I had to go to the hospital for 5 weeks, and I'd sit in the waiting room and I knitted socks, and I gave them all away because I didn't want to have an association with those socks. And one day they came and it was my turn, and we're all dressed in these hideous blue gowns, and I was sitting there knitting, and I'd passed it to the next person, and it was all wound round our legs, and it sort of was like a thread that bound us together. It was a sort of symbolic thread. It was something that just kept me going, you know, like one step after another, one stitch after another, and it just grows. Slowly it'll grow and the time will pass. So I've got different sorts of wool. This one here is mainly double knitting yarn. A friend gave me this from England. This is hand spun yarn. Oh, then there's some more. I don't know where that came from. Probably think I'm mad. This is really embarrassing. Oh, that was for another project I haven't made yet. See, that would make a nice stripe with that. That's made from saris. There's this, which is only good for slippers. That one's organic. This isn't all of it. There was one time in my life when I didn't knit, and my mum was a wonderful knitter. And when she got arthritis in her hands and was getting really ill, she couldn't knit, and I didn't knit because it seemed really cruel to knit in front of her when it was this thing that she really loved to do, and she couldn't do it, so I didn't do it. And that was it was odd to be like that, so it took me quite a while to overcome that, because when I knitted I thought about her after she died. This suitcase, this belonged to my mum. In 1945 she went to live in Tikawiti. Can you imagine, she took everything to live for 3 months. That's all she had for 3 months. Anyway, so now every time I open it, and it's full of, this is just scraps of different weights, I think of her. She'd quite like to have that much yarn. Like the way in which the items emerge off your needle. You start and you just make this tube and you do a few technical things and you come out with this object, formed object. But just sometimes it's nice to think, I made that, it's finished, it's quite gorgeous, and you've got something to give to a friend. And friends seem to really like it when you give them something hand knitted, particularly if it suits them. Not your naff sort of scratchy jumper that everybody laughs about, but if somebody gets really gorgeous gloves or a beautiful hat that just suits them and is the right colour for them, then they really appreciate that, and it's a really nice feeling to give something to somebody that you've made yourself, and a little bit of love in every stitch, and thought about them while you're making it. I like that.